So, what's your name, man, and what do you do?
So my name is Josiah DeNooyer. I'm a musician. I play the drums and the piano. I'm a community member. I love fitness and the outdoors, but mostly I create, write, record, perform music live, wherever we'll take me. So that's kind of my bag right now. Just getting into that in the new scene here in New York and trying to figure it all out, man. Trying to get this stuff together. You know?
And how can the people watching, how can they follow you? Like, what's your tag and everything?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook as my name, Josiah. DeNooyer is DENOOYER. And my Instagram is at musedriano_life. MUSEDRIANO_LYFE. If you're curious what that means, ask me about it. There's a little story there.
And
Yeah,
yo, bro, on your free time, what do you like to do the most?
Man, there's a few things that I really like to do when I have a few hours to spare. The biggest one is to play the drums or the piano, to learn something new or refine something that I've been working on. So most of my free time goes to that, but I also really love reading. I've been into fiction lately, specifically like Octavia Butler, just good storytelling. And then I also love practicing yoga and being outdoors. I love running. I run every day. I ran my second half marathon last year, so running is a big passion of mine as well. But yeah, those are kind of the things, you know. Of course, hanging with the homies, spending time together is really important too. That's what you'll catch me doing most days.
Awesome, bro. Yo, where were you born and raised?
The OG question. So originally I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was born there in a hospital downtown. And I lived there until I moved to college. I went to school about an hour south of there in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And now I live in Jersey City. So it's a little backstory. Grand Rapids is my first home, but Kalamazoo was the first place that I really felt like I was like, this is my home. My family still lives in Grand Rapids for the most part. All my immediate family does, and most of my extended family is there and in the surrounding areas too. So we go back. My dad's side has been in West Michigan my dad and my mom's side for like 5 generations, I think.
Sick, bro.
Yeah.
And what places have you been to that you would like to share?
You know, I'm trying to travel more in the next 5 years, so I haven't been nearly all the places that I want to be yet. But one of my favorite places that I was blessed with the opportunity to go to was South Africa. I spent 10 days there.
You said Cape Town, right?
I was in Cape Town for a couple of days. I was in Johannesburg. We spent most of our time working outside of Bloemfontein, which is in the middle of South Africa, at a township called Botshabelo, working with a child and family services nonprofit. It was the first black-led and black-owned nonprofit working with families in South Africa after apartheid. So learned a lot about the history of all of that, specifically as it pertained to children and families and how it affected all those systems. But it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful country, man. It's truly incredible. We got to explore a little bit on the last couple days in Cape Town and being right on the ocean, and also just seeing the mountains, and you know, spending some time over there was really refreshing. Going on some hikes, got to watch the sunrise over Cape Town. One of the days that we were there after an arduous hour-and-a-half climb up a mountain called Lion's Head. So South Africa is a beautiful place. Definitely part of my heart is there. I'd love to go back sometime. And yeah, it's an incredible country.
Yo, how many languages can you speak?
I can speak 1 really well, and I can get by with Spanish, so 2. But I'm trying to learn low-key. I'm trying to learn Sanskrit so I can get into like Hindi. I think that's like a really powerful, beautiful language. So yeah, I really only speak, I would say like 1.7 languages. You know?
All right.
Enough.
Yeah, like most of my students, bro, they speak like a minimum of 3 or 4 languages.
Yeah, I have mad respect for that.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because you work with a lot of people from across the world.
Especially in Asia, yeah, they're no joke with the language game.
Yeah, it's crazy how everyone like just learns English now. You know, like everyone, it's like almost like a rite of passage.
Yeah, I mean, I just did a lesson on that today. Essentially, how English is a lingua franca.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
it's
it's like, yeah, it's like the mediator language and shit, even for commerce.
Especially for that, for sure. That makes a lot of sense.
Yo, what does the word peace mean to you?
Peace, man. I love that word. I think peace to me is breath and space and being held, you know? Like,
Okay. Like intimacy?
intimacy is a part of it, although intimacy can be extremely non-peaceful. So I would say those are 2 different things, although in the most beautiful intimate experiences that I've had, peace has been a very centering piece of our relationship.
Gotcha.
But I think peace is unity. Like, peace is the ability to be oneself and not be afraid of any retaliation or any backlash for existing how you naturally exist, in the most authentic version of who you are, in community with people that are doing the same thing. So I guess I wouldn't say peace is the absence of conflict, but I think it's the awareness that as humans we have the abilities to work through any conflict or tensions that we have, and find peace in that, even in the process of doing it.
Yo, bro, how far back in years can you trace your family lineage?
That's crazy.
And like, what were their nationalities?
Yeah. That's wild. Me and my roommate were just talking about this on Thursday night. So I've gotten back 5 generations. So my great grandparents. And it's really insane, bro. Like, talk about like purebred. It's kind of wild. Like, I haven't done the DNA testing, but I can trace 5 generations back on both sides. All of my ancestors were from the Netherlands, so like 100% Dutch, to my knowledge. So most of them migrated to the United States around between 1880 and 1900, which is when most immigration from the Netherlands and actually a lot of Europe happened, from my understanding. They were all farmers, dairy farmers, celery farmers, and they came to the U.S. because, most likely, I don't know the personal stories, but most farmers from the areas that they're from in the Netherlands came here in search of more work, because the U.S. was so fertile, there was so much more opportunity for agriculture. It was kind of putting the Dutch out of the agricultural business because they couldn't produce nearly as many crops as the recently formed United States was creating. So that's why they came over here to build a better life for them and their families.
That's in Spanish, like agriculturalists would be campesinos.
Campesinos.
Yo, how important is it for you personally to go to those places that your family's from, like the Netherlands and stuff like that?
Dude, it's become a lot more important in the past couple of years. I started really checking out my heritage and my ancestry probably about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, and I started talking to some people that had visited some of those areas, and I would really like to go to the different areas of the Netherlands that my family's from, just to see what they're like now. You know, I know they're very different than they were 130, 140 years ago, but I think it would be really powerful to see the town that my great grandparents got married in, and, you know, just understand a little more about the culture in the Netherlands, the people there now, how they interact with, you know, U.S. citizens and people that are born and raised here but have Dutch heritage. Yeah, I really want to go do that soon, hopefully in the next couple of years.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, I did one piece of it in Borican, Puerto Rico, and I'm hoping to do it in Cuba pretty soon. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on it, and then I gotta do Spain and Mexico, you know, Philippines. I gotta keep going.
Yeah, because you got a pretty storied heritage.
Yeah, I have a deep lineage, man. I really gotta explore that a little bit more.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what is something in your culture that you could share that you want future generations to know?
That's a really good question. I think something that my mom made a really big point of, and that my grandparents, especially on her side, were really good about, was just eating together. I know that's a pretty like generic thing, but I think that is such a powerful thing. I mean, most of us don't eat meals with other people and sit down and eat them and converse anymore. I think, you know, and especially in the United States, we don't take the time to do that. And I think it's an integral part of community building and family building, and relationship building, and just peace, you know what I'm saying? The other thing that my grandma was really big on, you know, I don't remember the exact saying, but something along the lines of, if you're not gonna do it, then how's it gonna get done? So she was a very like active, intentional woman who was very focused on working hard and just developing a strong work ethic and not relying on like, or expecting other people to take care of your things for you. She actually was so driven that she was gonna become a nurse actually before she met my grandpa, and moved to another state to become a nurse in the early 50s, which was kind of a big deal for our family because they were very conservative, especially with the roles of women at that time. And her sister, my Auntie Lee, actually basically convinced her to stay and get married. And it's crazy, bro. I found out they had beef about that like until my grandma passed.
Wow, bro.
This past year, like, because my grandma kind of held it against her that she didn't support her going and pursuing her dream, and my Auntie Lee was like, "What's wrong with you? Like, you did the right thing." Blah blah blah. So it's really interesting. I learned that not too long ago.
So you pretty much are talking about like oral history. You know, eating together at the table, keeping the relationship stable.
Absolutely.
Within like domestically and everything like that. Yeah, that's pretty traditional.
Yeah, bro. I mean, oral history is so important because we don't know what's gonna happen to all this information that's out here. You know, who controls it, who has access to that. And,
bro,
you know, it's so easy to take it for granted right now because we live in such an information age. But all that could literally disappear. Like
for
that.
sure.
You know,
there's people that's one generation away. They don't even know who they come from. They don't know nothing about their grandparents, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yo, if you could tell your younger self anything at the age that you are right now, what would you tell them?
I would say focus. I would say find what you love and focus on it. I think I don't have any regrets in my life, but I have lots of learning experiences that could have been learned through focusing on things that I really wanted to develop, instead of taking these side quests, which I don't regret. I learned a lot in those spaces too. And I'd also say just chill. Like, my younger self, like, thought I had to have everything figured out, you know, when I was like a freshman in college and I was 19 years old, and I was like, I need to have everything together. I need to have my whole life planned out. I need to have, you know, just taking everything really, really seriously, which isn't a bad thing, but if I had, you know, the opportunity to speak to myself, I've been like, yo, relax, smell the flowers, like breathe, like be here, take a moment, realize what around you shouldn't be taken for granted, and exist, you know.
Be present, right?
Exactly. Be here now.
I think that's a very millennial thing though, bro. Like feeling the pressure from the last generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. No, that was, I mean, my mom honed that into me from a young age of just this like spirit of excellence, but that kind of ended up turning into like a spirit of you gotta have everything, you know, right. Dot your I's and cross your T's like all the time. And not a lot of space for like just being, exploring, existing, like asking questions that you don't know the answer to, and being okay with not knowing the answers.
That's what's up, bro.
Yeah.
That's good advice, because I have a lot of people that I come across on a daily basis, bro. like teaching wise, that they feel a lot of pressure of like having to like be at a certain place in their life that they don't feel, and especially because of like the social media realms. They're always comparing themselves to like people that are making, you know, they're comparing themselves to people that's making like, you know, 300 racks a year. You know, but anyway. What do you want to be known for, man? What's the legacy you want to leave behind?
That's a great question. I feel like I've just started thinking about the whole possibility of like forming a family and like being the patriarch of a family, and how much like that's a huge responsibility. So I don't even know if I've gotten to the legacy part yet, honestly, because I'm like still in that phase. But I think what I want to be remembered for,
like foundation building right now.
Yeah, for real. Like I don't even know what I'm trying to. I mean, I do know what I'm trying to build. I guess what I want to be remembered for is loving people well, for being kind, and for doing what I do with excellence, and hopefully causing a positive change in the world through music. You know, through music and through the people that I interact with.
Yeah, bro. I would say you're just an overall good friend.
Thank you.
You know,
that
like.
Means a lot.
I know there's a real, you know, Mos Def Yasin Bey.
I love it, yeah.
He talks about, I think he says like compassion, or is it compassion that he says, or empathy is like emotional intelligence. It's a form of brilliance. You know, and I think that's real, especially in this type of society. We have a lot of like utilitarian folks that you know, they really don't give a fuck about you.
I mean, you were in New York, bro. There's a lot of people like that.
For sure, bro.
So
I really respect that. You know, you're pretty honest about like your journey.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's this. I think Maya Angelou said like the thing people remember the most about you is how you make them feel.
Facts.
So. You know,
I saw a statistic that supposedly the most successful students in high school always are the most popular based on how they're able to acknowledge everybody at once, or how do they make other people feel. You know, those are the more successful children in general. Yeah, supposedly. That was a statistic that I saw.
That makes sense, man. I mean, it's a fine line too between like being sensitive to others' needs and seeing people and showing up for people, and also people pleasing and losing yourself in making people happy, because those are two very closely related things that are two very different things, you know. So that's been a real journey for me, coming out of that people pleasing stage, especially in high school, into a more subtle version of myself that cared about people but ultimately didn't let them define who I am.
Yo, last question.
Dang, let's go.
Right? Is there anything that you want to say, or you want to tell people, you want to bring to, you know, the internet's attention, some shit that's shadow banned, something that's political? Is there anything that you want to really expand on, or that you feel like you should say?
That's a deep question. Throwing that at the end casually. I would just say to all my people, just pay attention. Pay attention right now, especially. I mean, it's, you know, we're at the end of March, it's Aries season 2025. There's a lot of things going on in the world, especially, I mean, the whole world, but I mean, in the United States specifically, with the restructuring of our entire economy that I think is really going to change a lot of things for us and for future generations. And I think a lot of those things aren't going to be positive, to be completely transparent. But I would say pay attention, and also get off of fucking Instagram. That's the other thing I would say. Like, fucking go outside, put your feet in the grass, talk to somebody, smile at the cashier. Like, you know, the minute we lose those things is the minute that we're divided as a society, and that's when we can be manipulated and controlled. So those are the two things that I would say.
That's what's up, bro.
Sir.
Yeah, man. Like, you know, come back down to earth.
Yeah, right. Touch some grass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get back to, like, we're so caught up in like the future, especially here in the United States, that it's like the past has so many answers. You know, our ancestors before all this technology were just, they were outside, they were farming, they were, you know, eating what the land created, they were in the sun. They were living their lives in accordance with the cycles of the moon and the sun and the seasons. And like the things that are killing us in society can almost entirely be traced back to the lack of us doing those things in this modern, hyper-intelligent,
that's a fact,
scientifically advanced society. Also, question science. Like, respectfully, you know? Like, don't get me started on all that, but like, especially medical science, because there's a whole bunch of bullshit out there that's justified by science that's killing people to keep certain people rich. So
that's definitely a fact, and that's something that I put down in my book. Boricua Yorquino, which means like Boricua, being Cuban, born New Yorker.
Right.
And I talk about that very much so in terms of like people coming back to the alkaline-based foods.
Yep.
You know, not believing the hype of the Rona and all that other stuff. So yeah, man, just ground. You know, take your shoes off and put your feet in the grass.
Yeah, you'll feel better. I promise.
Yo, bro, I really appreciate you. Pulling up on this YouTube channel and everything. So
of course, man. Thank you for having me.
Definitely, bro.
Keep doing this. Do it more.